What's up, everybody? Starting another build. After I built that king-size bed, I need a side table. Not quite a full nightstand, but just something to set my cell phone on to charge at night. I have this 4-quarter cherry. I have a full board of it. I just had to have them cut it so it would fit in my car. So first thing I got to do is make some cuts. The first cut's going to be exactly 24 inches, maybe 23, probably 24. And then I need a top and a bottom, and I am going to do the not quite drawers, but just open areas with a shelf to kind of put stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and get these over on the miter saw and get them cut. All right, so first things first, let's get a nice straight edge on the end of this. I'm sure that's probably pretty straight, but it still has all the markings from the hardwood store, so I'm just going to do one quick cut. I'm actually going to flip it over because this end's a little nicer. And we'll shave a 1/4 inch off this thing. All right, much better. Now we're going to measure that out, 24 inches, and make another cut. That was interesting. But it's basically going to stand like this. There's going to be a base and a top, a inlet slot there, and one on the bottom too. And that'll be that. All right, let's do this. Go too bad, but it definitely has a little snipe on it right here and right here. Nothing I can't sand out. Oh geez, that's pretty bad. But overall it looks much better than it did. This had cupped a little bit. The first few passes only took off the edges on one side and then the middle on the other. It might just be because it's so cold out here. I'm not really sure. All right, get everything cut. These are right at 16. These are 8. These are 8.5, and it'll all come together pretty soon. There's some softwood on a couple of these that I'm not huge on, so hopefully I can clean that out of there. We'll see. If not, I do have some more I can make another cut with, so I'm not super worried about it, but we're going to run them through the planer. right, so I got all my miters cut. Just a bunch of 45s. I'm gonna make the first glue up here now, and then we gotta run some errands today. I did the best I could to try to grain match these. So you see where this bends, got that backwards. Where this bends, it's kind of a grain match, there and there. So I'm gonna put them in corner clamps just to do it. I only have 2 of those, so I can only do 1 at a time. But I figure after an hour or 2, I should be able to at least take them off and do another one. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I did most of those miter cuts on the table saw. I tried it on the miter saw, but the table saw at a blade angle was way better. All right, so I'm getting ready to glue the first miter together. I'm just using regular wood glue, nothing special, nothing fancy. Got my boards cut. I set up my corner clamps so I can basically just glue that edge there and slide this down into place and then clamp it all tight. All right, so I just spread it on with my finger to get a nice flat coverage. Now I'm going to slide this board into place and just clamp it tight. And I'm making sure that I match the grain up the way I want it. And yeah, I'll wind it tight and see how it goes. So there's a quick change of plans. I couldn't quite get those corner clamps to be lined up the way I liked it, so decided to just go with tape. Hopefully it's enough pressure, but no gap, so got them lined up well. Hopefully that'll cure up. I ended up doing the same thing on that one too. So I just measured the bottom height, since this is going to be the bottom with the piece going across and it's going to screw in. I just measured the bottom of the miter and the top, and I got to put 2 screw holes in each one, and there'll be another 2 screw holes in the center of this, but I want to get that other miter on before I know, and we're going to do the same with the top one. And I'm going to actually cut plugs to fill them with. I'm fine with just using glue on the miter joints, but on the straight ones I'd feel way more comfortable with some screws holding them. So not a huge surprise, but these Harbor Freight clamps weren't very accurate. So this miter is off a little, which is making this one crooked. So when I put this on, it's going to be off. I'm going to have to take the plane out afterwards, the hand plane, and clean it up a little bit. Maybe I can do it all with just a sander, but we'll see. I just put some glue on there, started my screws in there, and I'm going to go ahead and wind that on, but I still have to coat the bottom here too. So that's where I'm at. Okay, so this was a big fail. A couple things happened. One, those Harbor Freight corner clamps weren't straight on this, which caused a bunch of issues, but I probably could have fixed it. But second, this screw rounded over putting it in, and I don't even know if we can see that, but I was actually doing it by hand and it's still rounded. Then I tried getting it out, it rounded more. I tried getting it out with a Corbus Impact, it rounded more, where that one actually went fine. But the reason that screwed it up so much is now I have this gap over here, which makes the whole thing crooked. So when you come up here, this sits off, and of course down here, this miter slipped over with those box clamps, so that's off. So this is pretty much just a trash piece that I'm gonna finish anyways, but it's not really gonna be good for anything. That said, it will still potentially work. So my toolbox isn't completely level, see that? But the top of this is about matched with what my toolbox is, so it'll still be level enough to use in my room. It's just going to look like absolute crap. So yeah, I'm just gonna finish gluing it together and maybe wind a couple screws through it, and maybe take a hand plane and take some of these down a little bit. But yeah, that's all I can really do at this point. So since it was what I planned to do anyways, I cut a couple 3/8 plugs, just using a plug cutter. These are Cobalt. A ton of companies make these. They just go in any impact. So I cut a few of these, and I'm just gonna glue them and pound them in. It was what I planned on doing anyways, so why not, you know? They'll fit. So I'll get some glue spread on there and get going on it. All right, So decided I'm going to try to salvage what I can out of this. I've got this glued. I just pulled the clamps off it. Just to recap, here's the two issues I had. One was those Harbor Freight 90-degree clamps really did a terrible job on this one. And then I had one screw strip out, so it's not completely tight over here, which makes the whole top post crooked. But I'm gonna sand it down. I've got to run 2 more screws through here and 2 through the top, so I'll have to cut some more plugs. I already inserted the plugs over here. And then I may, to try to fix this a little bit, maybe take a hand plane to clean that up, and that up, and that up, and maybe just use a round over bit on these. This one I really don't need to. These are the ones I just used tape, and they came out pretty good. But the ones I used those box clamps on, those 90-degree clamps, didn't. All right, so just to show you, this is why I prefer plugs over like dowels. Because after you sand it, you can tell it's there, but barely, because it's all face grain. It matches the wood a lot better. Now, obviously, the grain's a little off there because they weren't cut from immediately on it, but it's a much better fit than a piece of end grain sitting in there. All right, so since I kind of already view this as a loss, I'm gonna set up a tripod, and I'm just gonna try putting a quick round over right on here, and if that looks okay, cleans up that line, I'll go around the whole thing with it. I'm not using a huge round over bit. It's actually one of my smaller ones. But if that gets that gap out of there, I mean, then hey, maybe this thing will be salvageable. We'll see. I'm really bad about it, but I'm gonna go ahead and throw safety glasses on. A lot of people always ask how come I never wear my safety glasses, and the honest answer is, and it's not a very good one, I forget. So no, that didn't really help all that much. It did round it, but not a ton. But it doesn't look awful, so I'm gonna hit the other ones too, just kind of see how it comes out after. I'll go around and show you. I have a lot of bigger round over bits too, so maybe I'll just do that, but we'll see. I can always fill that crack with wood glue and dust too. See what happens. All right, so I've got it all sanded to 180 grit. Forgive the mess, I have just a bunch of stuff out here. I got most of these lines pretty good, but they would look terrible if I tried to sand them any further. I still got to clean all the sawdust off it, put some finish on it. I should probably clean that up a little bit more too. But yeah, I'm gonna get it inside here in a little bit, get it warmed up a little bit before I spray it with anything. Well, it's completed. I really don't like it, but it's gonna sit next to my bed. It's literally just for me to charge my phone on. The wood actually looks really nice for cherry finished with I actually used a water-based poly waterborne acrylic finish. It's high gloss. I actually found it at like a wholesale place for like $2 a can. 2 coats of it, but it definitely brings out the colors of the cherry. It does make those plugs show a little better, but that's okay. I kind of like the accent of them. It's very crooked, and that's because of that screw that rounded off. So there's that gap there, but what that does is, and that's why I set it here, I pushed it back against the wall here, but you'll see how the top is crooked. See that gap compared to that gap? So that's the downfall, but this isn't for sale. It's not going to anybody. It's literally going in my bedroom for me to set my phone on and charge it at night. So it will do. Probably the worst project I've ever made, and considering I've actually made some pretty big ones, that's surprising, but it will do for what I want. But yeah, 2 errors in it ruined the whole thing. First one was trying to use those Harbor Freight box clamps on this miter over here, which obviously came out terrible. See the gap? And then using that cheap wood screw that rounded right off in there. Couldn't get it out, so stuck with that gap. It was either just finish the thing and put it in my bedroom, or hack it up and make some cutting boards out of it or something. So went with finishing it. I will say, using my plug cutter was nice. That was the first time I'd used it, and they came out very good. So I'm impressed with that. I'll use that a lot more often, but this should do all right. I might not even post this, but I don't know. I guess it doesn't hurt to post your failures too. And I will say, for getting this for about $2 a can, it really isn't bad. It sprays on really rough. You definitely have to sand between the second coat, and I rubbed it down with a paper bag after the second one. So yeah. Oh, my cat's investigating. She doesn't like it. She thinks it's terrible too. Take care.